What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. Also, welcome back to my video series, A Closer Look. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at one of the smaller African ethnic groups of East Africa, the Turkana people. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. On Patreon, you can find more in-depth courses on African history. Also, your support helps the channel grow, improving production quality and future animated projects. And with a word from my sponsors, there's a new social media platform dedicated to educating and uplifting our people. No longer do we have to be censored for speaking our truth. OBT Social is Black owned and operated, and a place where you can post your businesses and even monetize your content. You can visit the website at obtsocial.com. Links to everything in the description box below. To avoid confusion, it's important to mention that the Turkana population, according to one source, has tripled since the 1950s. And so, recent data on their population size will reflect a higher population than what will be presented in this video. Thus, the focus of this video will be on their previous population size in the context of their history with other African ethnic groups and the British well before the 1950s. So let's begin. There were many African ethnic groups who were militarily powerful, but what seems to be unique about the Turkana people is that they were able to do it with smaller numbers. Most African ethnic groups, based on my observation, number more than 500,000 people. But the Turkana only numbered about 350,000. So who are these African people? The Turkana inhabit the arid region west of Lake Turkana in northwestern Kenya and regions in neighboring parts of northeastern Uganda. They speak an Eastern Nilotic language. Scholars remain uncertain about the group's origin, but Turkana legend is more colorful. So what is the legend of the Turkana people's origin? According to oral history, the Turkana proclaim that they made their way into Kenya in pursuit of an unruly animal that they refer to as the Grey Bull. Interestingly enough, at times they even refer to themselves as the people of the Grey Bull. So what can we learn from this oral tradition? Well, it seems as though that the Turkana people were not originally from Kenya, and like many other African ethnic groups across the continent, they migrated from somewhere else. We also learn from this legend that the Turkana hold cattle in high regard, and this fact is observed even today. With their large frames and beautifully modeled coats, Turkana cattle dominate the region's dusty hills and plains, as well as the lives and livelihoods of the Turkana herders. Considered to hold a higher place in the eyes of Akush than do people, cattle are the true measure of wealth and status among the Turkana herders, whose language has no words for rich or poor, but does have terms to distinguish between a person who has many animals, just a few, or none at all. Cattle for many Nilotic-speaking peoples across Eastern Africa was a sign of wealth and status, and so Turkana livelihood and overall culture consistently involved their relationship with cattle. One way to interpret Turkana oral tradition is that their migration took place because of some new environmental developments with cattle herding, and so, metaphorically speaking, the gray cattle led them to a more conducive environment for cattle herding. Being on the smaller size in terms of numbers perhaps impacted their intensity when it came to protecting their livelihoods, because historically the Turkana fiercely protected and aggressively advanced their livestock. The history of the Turkana is punctuated with a series of narratives surrounding their military power and wealth, especially generated through livestock raids. This militaristic power enabled the Turkana to expand southwards, conquering ethnic nations south of its borders. By the 1600s, the Turkana basin had been fully occupied by Turkana people and allied friendly groups. The militaristic reputation of the Turkana, at least on a local level, preceded them, and given their size, that was pretty impressive. Now, of course, they didn't do this alone, because as mentioned by the previous quote, they had some political acumen in the acquisition of competent allies. Now, it's one thing to position yourself in power on a local level, but being faced with an outside power that's sweeping across a continent is another. The Turkana fight against the British is perhaps one of the most underrated and ignored aspects of African history. A small group putting up such a fight is something that should be remembered. Though they number only about 350,000, many Turkana have clung to their traditional way of life in the face of mounting pressures. The British struggled to impose colonial authority in their territory long after establishing their rule in other parts of Kenya. Even as late as 1918, the British military was still trying to subdue the Turkana in a campaign that, while damaging to the people and their herd, did not bring an end to the group's independence. Since the 1950s, the Turkana population has tripled. It's incredible that a small group was able to resist the British. Even after some moderate consolidation of power, the British were only able to maintain a passive presence of colonial administration in the area. Despite the modern struggles of the Turkana, reportedly being marginalization, poverty, and underdevelopment, their legacy as a group is impressive and something the diaspora should be well aware of. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.